What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F1 22. Last time out we were at the Mexican Grand Prix, and after starting towards the back due to some penalties, we managed to make our way forward significantly through the grid, and we finished in the top 5 if I'm not mistaken, so it was a very good result. We've asked people to pick a rivalry, and we've chosen George Russell again, because the only other option was Verstappen, and I think we can probably beat Russell in some of these races, but I don't think we could beat Verstappen, but what do I know. Next up is the Portuguese Grand Prix. It's finally here after about 5 races of me saying I think Portugal is coming up soon. It has arrived, and we'll be racing here hopefully, barring any wars or anything like that. I don't know if the Portuguese have political tension anywhere, but yeah, we're putting another perk on our driver to give more resource points. This will probably stand us in the best stead to get enough resource points to cover off all the upgrades that we've made for aero and powertrain this season, and that will enable us to hopefully move forward a little bit when the next season comes around, see if we can jump a few cars in the performance standings, maybe even jump all of them, who knows. We were hit hard, we've managed to cover it off. Who knows whether the rest of the teams will be able to do the same thing or not. Still, no points for Schumacher and no points for Piastri either. They've got 3 races left to score in this championship, and yeah, I think Leclerc can wrap up the championship here. I'm not sure. I actually didn't scroll all the way up for some reason there, but I think he's about 40-something points ahead. So he needs to outscore Perez by like 5 points or something. I think this race maybe it might be more than 5, I'm not sure. I think if you factor in the sprint it's a little bit more, but yeah, he needs to outscore Perez by a certain amount of points this race, and if he does, then the championship will go to Leclerc for the 2nd season in a row. If not, then it ticks over to Brazil, which is the next race. I think probably what we're going to end up doing here is we're going to take a few penalties at some point. I think I'll probably wait until after qualifying and then take a few penalties. The reason I will wait until after qualifying is because if we use the worn components in qualifying, it doesn't really matter where we qualify. And we've got a component we needed to change, or we need to change anyway, I think, because it's like too worn to use basically, or something like that. I'm not sure. Either way, we'll see what happens going forward. First up is practice. It was raining initially. It did dry out over the course of the session, but as you'll see when I show you the results, I didn't do any dry running, which might be foolish given that qualifying and at least some of the race is going to be in the dry. We ended up obviously last because everyone else did a dry run, but yeah, we can't read too much into that. We'll see. I was pretty fast in the wet, so we'll see if that translates to dry pace. Piastri, hard to tell because he only went on to hards. I still think signing him next season is the right move. I know that obviously Fittipaldi's the only driver I've had who scored points, but I genuinely believe that was due to some kind of bug in the game and not due to pure pace, whereas Piastri has at least been close on a couple of occasions, whether that be due to strategy or due to his driving or whatever. He has had a couple of moments this season which have made me think we probably need him in the team going forward. And he's not so expensive, especially considering that we're going to get quite a big payout from getting either P5 or P6 in the championship. Probably P6 at this point, I reckon. That really depends on how Alpine do. But if we look at the performance comparison when it comes up in a second, you'll see that quite clearly we've still got 9 parts to adapt, so that's a bit concerning. But yeah, you'll see that clearly Alpine are a lot faster than they were at the beginning of the season, and they've kind of moved away from us more and more as the season's gone on, because they've been developing the car at a faster rate, and also I think the other teams around us have still been developing their cars despite the regulation change. This is something that fills me full of at least a little bit of confidence that we might actually be able to jump quite a few cars if they're not looking to cover off their upgrades and instead looking to sort of do what they can to improve their car for this season. That could be really good for us. Here we are now on lap 1 of our Q1, our first flying lap. I bottled my words there quite significantly, but anyway, Yeah, we settled for, I think it was like a 1:18.3 or 4, something like that. I'm not sure. And then we improve again in our second flying lap up to a 1:17.9, and that is good enough for P11. So yeah, I don't know if we'll make Q3 or not based on that kind of pace. That's like right on the cusp of maybe you got the pace to make Q3, maybe you don't. It was at least encouraging that I was very close to Ocon, but Alonso was quite far ahead from what I remember, and that is going to be a theme that likely repeats itself over the course of the weekend, I imagine, because now that the Alpines are a sort of contender, they're going to be rapid, basically, and Alonso especially. I'm sure you've probably seen other YouTubers who have Alonso, you know, being a world championship contender in those seasons, and yeah, it's no different. It's no different here, possibly going into next season. If Alpine can stay on the pace that they've had this season, we could be looking at another Alonso bid for the championship next season. Maybe we'll be up in the championship fight next season as well, who knows. But anyway, we need to improve from our first flying lap if we want to get out of Q2. We're currently down in 13th. We've got Verstappen down in 14th. I don't know if he's going to improve or not, but if he's not, then that could be really bad for him. I think he's pretty much out of the championship anyway. I think he's fallen a bit too far behind Leclerc now. Perez is still in with a shout, but I don't really think Verstappen has much of a chance anymore. We'll have to wait and see in that regard. And yeah, this second flying lap isn't going particularly well. We're not really improving as much as I would have liked to have been, especially considering our first run was on a used set of softs. I would have ideally liked to be a bit further ahead. You know, we're 2/10 up, we are improving, but it could be a lot better. And we're not taking these corners particularly well. We're either going a bit deep or turning in a bit too early and having to correct or something like that. And in the end, we're only going to be about 3.5 to 4 tenths up. I'm not 100% sure what is going to happen on this occasion. And we will see, is it good enough for us to get through? It actually is. We came P9, so we made it through to Q3. That's a good result, especially considering if we want to keep up this battle with the Alpines, we're going to have to try and minimise the damage that we take from the penalties to see if we can cut through the field. And yeah, if we can qualify better, there's a lower chance of us, you know, going out in... oh, what am I saying? There's a lower chance of us going right down the order and not being able to kind of fight our way back into the race. Verstappen and Russell were both eliminated from that qualifying, and we had, I think, Tsunoda and Magnussen came through, but I'm not sure. There were definitely two cars you wouldn't really expect to see in Q3 that came through. Our first lap is a 1:18.1. It's not bad, but I don't think I'm competing with the Norris and Hamilton times that they're setting. 1:17.2s roughly around there. Oh, it was Gasly, not Tsunoda, maybe. We're up to the final sector of our final flying lap now, and we're 5 tenths up on our previous lap and still improving. It's going to be about 6 tenths or so. So I think we can get into the sort of the 1:17.5s, 4s, something like that maybe. We'll see as we come to the line. We're going to run out of battery, we're going to burn the DRS, and it's going to be a 1:17.4. And in the end, the position was P5. Wow, okay. That was a little bit better than I was expecting. I was thinking, you know, maybe P7 might be on the cards, but P5 is a lot better than I was anticipating.
Tomorrow's race, but before we begin, let's have a quick look at those who'll be fronting the grid. Fernando Alonso, Hamilton, and Lando Norris. Well, that wraps up qualifying, but don't worry, we'll be back tomorrow as we head into the Grand Prix.
Alonso got pole, so I hope he has a penalty, because if he doesn't, I think that's going to be GG championship no matter what, especially because we're going to be taking a lot of penalties here. I think we could be starting way down the order, and Alonso, the man who could deny us everything as far as the Constructors' Championship is concerned, is going to lead this race away from the prime position, the pole position. We are in trouble. I think, I honestly think him being on pole has murdered this championship. I don't think there's any way back into this now. I mean, there's already very limited way back into this after Mexico, but we managed to limit the damage that he did there. I think he ended up coming third, and we came 5th, so we limited the damage to only a few points. But here, we're going to have a much better race than that if we want to have any chance. So we're going to definitely be replacing our gearbox here, because that's probably not going to last the whole race. I would like to say that might last the whole race, but I really don't think it will, potentially. And since we're taking penalties on that, we might as well take penalties on everything else that is worn down. And this will give us the best chance of being competitive in Brazil and in Abu Dhabi, which are both races that I had a lot of pace at last season. You might think that's a stupid decision, but I have absolutely no idea what my race pace is going to be like in Portimao, and I could just go backwards here, especially if I've got worn engine components. Brazil, that will not happen.
Then to Portimao, one of the busiest towns in the Algarve and a breathtaking destination that brings tourists from all around the world to the shores of southern Portugal. Today it's the backdrop for the latest round of the Formula One World Championship, and with a circuit this wide, we could be in for a lot of exciting wheel-to-wheel action today. So Portimao features 15 turns over the course of its 2.9-mile length. 9 are right-handers, 6 are to the left. This is a track with a lot of uphill action, which only accentuates the importance of getting those exits right, especially at turn 4, where a good line can present opportunities to pass on the way into turn 5. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. An immense lap from Fernando Alonso yesterday puts him on pole position, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Norris, Gasly, Daniel Ricciardo and Leclerc, Ocon, Albon, Sainz and Mick Schumacher, Joe, Perez, Oscar Piastri and Vettel, Russell, Latifi, they've taken a grid penalty, Yuki Tsunoda and Robert Schwartzman, Magnussen, Verstappen, Stroll, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty, and Robinson. Now it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. Natalie Pinkham joins me once again in the commentary box. It's fantastic to have you with us today. I'm curious though, how do you think the drivers stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn 1, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It'll keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
So, here we are in last. It didn't quite play out how I wanted to. I think maybe I went a bit too hard on the component changes. But, like I said, I honestly thought we were out of this anyway. Alonso would still be leading away from pole even if I was in P5. All I've done here is just improved my chances of getting a good result in the following races. Because I would have, if I didn't take penalties here, I would have had to have taken penalties in Brazil. And then that would have massively reduced my chances of getting a good result in Brazil, which is a track I know I can go well at. Last season, you remember, I was running quite well in the points before my car broke down. It didn't really look like I was going to be losing those points positions. So I see no reason why I can't do the same thing this season. And yeah, anyway, here we go with the Portuguese Grand Prix. The lights go out. I didn't have enough time to say they come on, but they're out. And we get a decent start, although all the cars around us are starting on softs and we're on mediums. So surprise, surprise, they do get a better start than we do. And now we're going to have to be looking for any way we can to get through the cars ahead of us. We're going to try and go up the inside here as we come around this multi-apex corner. And we're actually going to overtake about 4 cars by doing that, which is quite something. We're going to get ahead of Vettel here as well as we come on the run through that fast left-hander. And then as we come on the run down to the hairpin, are we going to attack Verstappen? I end up having to disappear off the track to avoid going into the back of Latifi. And that allows Verstappen through. And we still don't get ahead of Latifi yet. Tsunoda has a look up the inside, but there was no way I was going to give that to him. These guys have a death wish sometimes, I swear. And yeah, so pretty decent start. We're up into P17 so far. Tsunoda's still looking for ways through, but he needs to just bide his time and try and overtake me in a legitimate position, you know what I mean? And we'll see if we can make anything happen here. Latifi's the next car ahead. I think we can probably get past him with relative speed. and then we'll start focusing on moving forward in this race. I don't know, the problem is there's too many fast cars ahead of us. There's Verstappen, there's a Mercedes, there must be Perez as well. I've seen another Red Bull up there. I think the Mercedes is a Russell, because I think Hamilton's quite high up the grid actually. But yeah, it's quite a lot. We're not burning too much battery here. We're going to bide our time maybe just for now, see if we can get past Latifi without burning too much battery. But yeah, unfortunately he kind of pulls away a little bit there, but Piastri is going to hold him up a little bit as we come through this. It's kind of a hairpin, but not really. I don't really know how to describe it. And then on the fast left-hander we managed to just about overtake Latifi, and we're up into P16. And already, despite the fact that Piastri I think started 12th or 13th and we started 22nd, we've already caught up with Piastri because he's fallen back down the order and I've moved up the order quite significantly. Now we're at the end of lap 2. I'm going to be burning the battery a little bit, but not too much, to try and get ahead of Piastri. DRS has been enabled, so now I'll be able to overtake him anywhere we have DRS. I'm going to try going up the inside of him as we go through this fast section of corners. He's going to keep his foot in for now, but as we get to the braking zone, I'm going to stay ahead of him. And P15 is ours for the taking. Next up is Zhou Guanyu. He is on the medium compound tyres, so we should be able to overtake him. We have the DRS, and that's everything I think we need to facilitate the overtake. As long as we can stay within DRS range of him until the next DRS zone, and we have managed to do exactly that as we come onto lap 3. And yeah, we're going to try and make an overtake happen on him now. We've already caught up to him before the DRS line has even come up, and yeah, we just drag past him as the straight moves on, and by the time we get to the braking zone, we're pretty much ahead of them. Next cars ahead are Verstappen and Russell on soft compound tyres, so good luck catching them. I don't know what's going on at the back here to make me so far down than everyone else, but yeah, we're just going to have to do what we can for now as we move on to lap 7. You see that Verstappen's pulled away a little bit, but we've managed to maintain the gap to Russell. I can only assume that's because there's slower cars ahead, so maybe we'll start catching now. Although maybe we won't, because we do have an issue which I don't know what that's going to be. We'll have to wait and see. There's a Haas there, both Red Bulls and a Mercedes, and that's the route into the points if we can get there. But yeah, we'll have to see what's going on with this mechanical issue. I'd be surprised if it was an engine failure, because we've taken basically all new components. It would mean one of them would have to be faulty or something like that. But we'll wait and see what happens with that.
It looks critical. Find somewhere to retire as soon as possible. You can't risk you carrying on
Well,
with this race, I'm afraid. Again, find somewhere safe to stop. We need
and yeah, that was the end of the Portuguese Grand Prix. I did 6 racing laps before my car broke down, but that's nothing compared to the 1 I did in China before my car broke down, or was it 3? I can't remember. In any case, I've done less than 10 racing laps on new circuits this season. But the good news is they've just announced that Portugal and China will be on the calendar for next season, mostly because the overlord of the entire F1 circus wants to race on them. But yeah, who's won here? I think it's Norris, and Ricciardo seems to have got on the podium as well. You have to wait and see. I wonder who is going to be the other podium finisher. Oh, it's Alonso, of course. So yeah, that's GG P5 in the championship.
With tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
As the winners make their way up to the podium, one can only imagine the celebrations that will take place at McLaren tonight. Congratulations to everyone on the team, securing the win and proving that they're a force to be reckoned with out on the track.
Yeah, that is surely that. That's all she wrote for the P5 fight in the championship. I don't see how I'm fighting my way back into this one now. I'd need a teammate that can fight this as well. If we were to have any hope of getting back into it now, but I don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately. And yeah, that's a sad way for it to end, but sometimes it be like that.
Let's have a quick look at how the driver's standings have changed. Charles Leclerc, currently leading the championship standings, extends his lead even further with this result. Let's focus on the driver of the day. Natalie Pinkham, come on, who do you pick?
Max Verstappen seemed to just effortlessly weave through the other drivers today without a care in the world. He was definitely my driver of choice.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. And pulling further ahead in the standings, it's Red Bull. Well, what an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you.
Well, the good news is, no matter what we do, we can't lose P6. But we are now 30 points down on Alpine, which means I would need to win, and Alpine would need to win both races, and Alpine would need to come no higher than like 7th in either race, which I just don't foresee happening. So I think it's over, unfortunately. Leclerc has pretty much wrapped up the championship now. Perez needs to outscore him by 19 points at the next race to ensure the championship fight goes on. And yeah, we don't get anywhere near as much money as I would want from this race. So that is rather unfortunate, but it's the way the cookie crumbles. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure you like and subscribe. And hopefully I will see you in the next one.